Give me 1 second, everyone, and that should be all set. Awesome. How's it going, everyone? Welcome again to Washed Up Wednesdays, episode 20. This is a big one. Finally on a stream over at Anchor. So if you want to tune into the podcast after the show, that's a great way to do it. Listen to it on the road. You don't have to pull up YouTube every single time you're trying to upload that as well. So that's what we got going for us today. If you're new to the show, normally we're on every single Wednesday, but this week, I had some technical difficulties. After this week, we'll be back on the normal Wednesday schedule. We talk about everything in the NFL: games, players, trades, injuries, all that kind of stuff. Who got fired, who got hired, everything under the sun we go through there. So let's start it off. Nonetheless, one of the biggest surprises in the NFL this year, Luke Kuechly retiring. I could see Andrew Luck retiring this year, but Luke Kuechly, that's a much bigger surprise. The man was at the top of his game. He was a 5-time first team All Pro, absolute freak, defensive rookie of the year. The following year in his second season, won defensive player of the year. And now he feels he can't keep up with the speed of the game and the physicalness of the game as well. So he's just very, very out of the loop, he said. So he felt it was his time to retire. Man had a great career, one of the best linebackers of the decade for sure. Left a legacy on the Panthers, was just a great guy all around, according to a lot of the players. So it's going to be tough to see the best linebacker in the NFL not come back for another season. So maybe he comes back, maybe he gets healthy, maybe it's a Gronk thing. Who knows? Maybe Andrew Luck comes back, but a lot of things are up in the air. An NFL reporter tweeted that he said at the beginning of this year he could have seen Luke Kuechly winning Defensive Player of the Year and Andrew Luck winning MVP, and now both are retired, done with the NFL. So tough to see that. Hopefully they come back, they get healthy. We'll see what goes on with them. Getting into some other retirees, Zach Line, really good fullback for the Saints, announced his retirement. That didn't come as a surprise. He's over 30 years old. He's kind of lost his step, but he didn't revolutionize the fullback position, but he was a fullback that is like old school hard mouth football that we used to see in the 70s and 80s. He's the guy that would run into a hole and block, but then could also release to the flat or hit a wheel route and catch a pass. So he's one of those guys that was very reliable when you needed him. Great system player. Solid career for Zach Line. I think he had 2 touchdowns in his career, so good job for him. Very good fallback in the NFL. But with guys coming back, I'm more surprised by this than the Kuechly retirement. How about Larry Fitzgerald coming back for his 17th season? We'd love to see that for the Arizona Cardinals. Absolute freak of specimen. He is such an integral part of that Cardinals organization. And the fact he's coming back for another year, when he said 3 years ago he's going to retire, this is just awesome to see his longevity and how well he's going to play. I think he's pretty much going to stay where he is in rankings. He would have to play 3 or 4 more seasons to become number one in every single category, but very happy he's coming back. Definitely a Hall of Famer for sure. So Larry Fitzgerald, the GOAT, one of the GOATs at wide receiver. Jerry Rice is better. We'll leave it at that, but congratulations coming back for another season. So keep it up there, Larry. We got some coaching hires, some coaching fires. We'll see how these all play out. But Joe Brady becomes the official offensive coordinator for the Panthers, or excuse me, for the Giants. Ooh, I had that as the Panthers. That is my mistake. For the Giants, I think that's a great hire. Excuse me, no. Thinking about the Joe Judge for the Patriots. Joe Brady from LSU is now the OC for the Panthers. Great hire by the Panthers there. I think he's going to work well with Matt Rule. You have a great offensive mind like Joe Brady coming in, kind of going to revolutionize the NFL, kind of how Sean McVay has done. He's the youngest offensive coordinator in NFL history at 30 years old. So let's see how he plays out. The Browns hired Kevin Stefanski, the offensive coordinator from the Vikings. He is now their head coach. I think that's a great hire as well. I think for as little weapons as the Vikings have had, he turned Stephon Diggs, a 5th-round pick, into a legend. Adam Thielen, an undrafted guy, into a legend. Signed Kirk Cousins, who was a 7th-round pick, and now he's doing really well. Dalvin Cook, 2nd-round pick, doing very well, and he's really brought that offensive line back. This is going to happen a couple of times on the stream. I might have to get up and hit this a couple of times, but give me 1 second. That should be fixed. That's going to happen one or two more times. I don't know what's going on with my camera. That's one of the technical difficulties I was talking about. I did want to go live even with all the technical difficulties I've been having, just to stay consistent, but that will happen one or two more times throughout the show. But getting back into the coaching hires and fires, how about Pat Shurmur being hired by the Broncos? He's one of those guys that's a great offensive coordinator, but I don't think he's a good head coach. Jason Garrett just got hired by the Giants to be their OC. I think that's a very smart hire as well. The Giants staff has 3 former head coaches on it. I think that's very, very smart, especially with the new head coach and Joe Judge. So this is going to be a great way for the Giants to start rebuilding through Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and Darius Slayton. Wouldn't be surprised if they go and get another receiver in the draft. CeeDee Lamb has been up there. Jerry Jeudy has been up there as well as a name. So we'll see how that plays out. Julian Edelman was arrested vandalizing a car last week, hopping on it, damaging it. So who knows? Maybe he wants to get out of New England too. I don't know what's happening with him. OBJ has a warrant for his arrest. The security guard has dropped the charges. We'll see if the warrant drops. That probably is going to drop today, if not tomorrow. And finally, for big news, the Las Vegas Raiders are official. They're no longer the Oakland Raiders. They are the Las Vegas Raiders. There's a lot of great videos how the stadium's looking. It's going to be all blacked out glass, which is absolutely sick. Love the whole concept of the black hole coming back into the mosh pit, really epitomizing what the Raiders are about and bringing it to Las Vegas. I don't think it's a smart move financially. We've seen relocations have not worked out for the Rams or for the Chargers. This is going to be a similar situation for the Raiders going into Vegas. It's a tourist area. It's a travel area. Not going to have a whole solid fan base, but the stadium is sick, so maybe that's enough to convert some Las Vegas people into Raiders fans. But let's get into the game breakdowns. This week, there were a lot of good games, a lot of good just fundamentals of football going on. Playoffs, again, keeping pace is one of the best playoffs of the year. Give me 1 second. And we saw that with the 49ers and Vikings that first game. Vikings coming off a huge win against the Saints, beating one of the best teams in the league. They go into Levi Stadium. They have a chip on their shoulder. They're the underdogs. Kirk Cousins needs to make a name for himself in playoffs. Dalvin Cook came off a monster game. Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen going against one of the best defenses in the league. The Vikings have one of the best defenses in the league as well, one of the best front sevens, and they just could not keep up with the 49ers. Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook couldn't breathe. Vikings front or the 49ers front seven, and it's really 11 of them because of all the subs they have. The front four being Nick Bosa and Dee Ford on the ends, DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead in the middle. Then they sometimes put Eric Armstead outside. They'll plug in Ronald Blair in the middle. Solomon Thomas gets playing time in that. Anthony Zettel. And then the linebackers, Dre Greenlaw, Kawan Smith, Fred Warner. And they got a fourth guy in there as well. They just the 11 of them in the front seven is just absolutely unbelievable how they can rotate and how they play. And I think now that Kawan Alexander is back, they're going to be even better going forward. And the Vikings front seven, very strong. Ben Gedeon, Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr. You got Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin, probably one of the best pass rushing duos in the league. Linval Joseph in the middle, Stephen Weatherly, and they still cannot keep up with this 49ers offense. George Kittle bodied Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin all day long. And the 49ers offensive line, you can find these clips on YouTube. If you want to see good offensive line play, look at the 49ers, how they communicate, how they handle twists, stunts, guys blitzing in the middle, guys coming up the middle and then bouncing back into coverage, picking up someone on the outside. It is just flawless how they played that whole entire game. Jimmy G, all the time in the world. Gaps were open all day for Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, and Raheem Mostert. They looked really sharp, really good. Definitely looking like the Super Bowl favorite for the NFC. So great job by the 49ers crushing the Vikings. Now, this game was absolutely wild. Saturday night, Titans go to Baltimore. They just went to Foxborough, one of the hardest places to play in, and beat the Patriots. They go into Baltimore, the hardest team to beat in the NFL, on a 12-game win streak, and they decimated Lamar Jackson, stuffed up the run, didn't let receivers get open, and really absolutely destroyed the Ravens' offensive line. They looked real sharp. That's probably the biggest upset of the season. Just absolutely unbelievable. Derrick Henry continues to be a stud, over 200 yards all purpose, 180 on the ground. And mistakes early really cost the Ravens the game. Lamar Jackson had a couple of errant throws. Mark Andrews had a ball slip right through his hands into Kevin Byard's hands for a pick. That was tough to see. Offensive line was letting pressure. Receivers couldn't get open. There were 10 times Lamar Jackson just had to chuck the ball away. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But with that being said, if the passes are working, what do the Ravens do best? They run the ball. Lamar Jackson was the only one who could run the ball. He had 140 yards or something like that, 350 yards passing, but he threw 55 passes. That's not his style. He's supposed to throw less than 30 passes, if not 20 passes a game, and just use his legs, use Mark Ingram to run. He was hurt. Gus Edwards has proven to be great. He looked bad this game as well. They just couldn't run the ball. And the Titans secondary was just all over these receivers. Adoree Jackson, Logan Ryan, Kevin Byard. Who's the other safety? Dane Cruikshank. I know he's a special teamer, but he gets some time on defense as well. But the Titans just look great on all cylinders. Jeffrey Simmons has done a great job coming in after injury. He looks real sharp, but great job by the Titans. Definitely looking like the favorite for the AFC. They've been one of the best teams this second half of the season and postseason. This game, even crazier. How about the Chiefs coming back and beating the Texans the way they did? Texans went up early, 24-0. Just bad play calling by Andy Reid, bad defensive plays. Kenny Stills on a screen and go. Great pass. He was wide open. No one was around him. That really kicked off the Texans game to get going. They had a fumble recovery for 6 on a run play there too. So, and a block punt for recovery too. Texans go up 24-0. Chiefs look absolutely dismantled. 13 minutes left in the second half. How do you come back after being absolutely obliterated that early? They do it by outscoring the Texans 51-7. There were some really bad play calls by Bill O'Brien, maybe 2 or 3, that really changed the momentum. There's a fake punt that they called on a 4th and 4. And Justin Reed just couldn't break Brad Sorensen's tackle. And that gave the Chiefs the ball. They scored, I think, on the very next play. Kelsey scored 3 times in one quarter. That was another big momentum shifter for the game. He scored 3 times in the third quarter, or second quarter, excuse me. And just the Chiefs looked really good. They look like definitely the AFC favorite now. It's going to be a great game between the Titans and the Chiefs. Chiefs have really turned it on the second half of the season and have turned their season around, especially with Mahomes coming back from injury and being fully healthy. But just bad play calling really gave the Chiefs momentum there. The Texans, like I said, just not being smart with their play calling, not being smart with the play design itself. So great job by the Chiefs coming back. First team ever to be down 24-0 at the start of a half and then come back and lead in the half 28-24. Good job by them. And then the last game this week, how about the Packers beating the Seahawks? A lot of controversy in Lambeau. There was a lot of kaputs calls in this game. One in particular is the fumble. It was close. It looked like the ball was falling out of his hands, and then he regained control, and then he hit the ground. They ruled it a fumble, but there was no clear recovery by the Packers. I could see that. It was kind of dark. The ball, his arms are kind of flailing. That was the last you could see. So nothing really there that was real 100% evidence that the Packers recovered it. He did come up with the ball, but we've seen this happen before where both guys are screaming for the ball. There's no clear call in the field, and they pull one guy off and pull the other guy off, and one just has the ball. So you can't really make a judgment call based on who comes up with the ball after a pile if it's close like that. If he's clearly got it in his arms like this, then yeah, that's 100% accurate. It should be their ball, but that wasn't the case. The ball not clearly recovered, like I said, but, it's a tough call to make. The other one that a lot of people are complaining about is the first down that wasn't a first down. That yellow line is not official. If you look at the line to gain where the ball is, where the first down marker is, that's 100% accurate. He was over the line. That was a first down. Davante Adams with a huge clutch catch to win the game there. And the Seahawks almost mounted a comeback. Marshawn Lynch had a solid game. Only 12 for 27, but 2 touchdowns. Can't blame him. DK Metcalf obviously did not have the same game. Jaire Alexander was on him all game long. They let the safeties handle Tyler Lockett. Great game planning by the Packers there. Great job by them. Let's get into some peakers and leakers. Honorable mention number 1. I don't think I've even talked about him this season. Davante Adams. 8 for 162 touchdowns. Give me 1 second. 162 touchdowns. Great job, Davante Adams, being a stud for the Packers. First time he's had a big game all year. He's been battling injuries. Comes in, has some awesome routes. Like I said, the big clutch catch at the end of the game to seal the win. Great job. Number 3, peaker Derrick Henry, 30 for 195, 2 for 7 through the air, and 1 for 1 passing for 3 yards and a touchdown. He did it all against the Ravens. He's definitely the reason that they won that game. Ryan Tannehill had a solid game, but again, didn't throw over 20 passes for the second game in a row. That's going to be tough if the Chiefs can start stifling this run, how he responds to that. But Derrick Henry, great game all around. Richard Sherman coming in at number 2 peaker. He had a tackle. He had an interception. He only allowed 1 completion to Stephon Diggs and Thielen combined. Those two did have some other catches, but it was in zone, not in Sherman's area. But when Sherman was on him, the ball wasn't even thrown their way only once, and it was on a little 5-yard in route that he was playing. He was playing soft on, so can't really blame Sherman for that. But that interception, it was a bad throw by Kirk. It was a little outside. I don't know if Thielen ran the wrong route or Kirk just missed by a little bit, but Sherman making the most out of a mistake and just really been the anchor of that whole entire defense for 49ers. He brings that veteran experience, that leadership, and that absolutely sick play style. Number 1 peaker this week, though, I got to give it to the boy, Patty Mahomes. He played awesome. 23 for 35, 321 yards, and 5 touchdowns for 134.6 QBR, while tallying 7 carries for 53 yards. He had such an awesome game. He made some crazy throws. There was one he came up. He literally toe dragged so he could stay behind the line of scrimmage and dump the ball off to Travis Kelce. I thought that was a great play by Patrick Mahomes. He had a couple of beamers across the middle. Hit a great route over the top to Tyreek Hill. So Pat Mahomes looking like he did last year, one of the best games this season that he's had. Great job by him. Let's get into the leakers for this week. This is getting sad. We're coming up on the last couple peakers and leakers of the season. We only got 2 more of these things left, but let's make the most of it. Honorable mention, I'm going to give it to Trey Flowers. This is a guy who they thought was going to be the number 1 corner in Seattle after Sherman left. And even after Justin Coleman left this year, but he's been up and down this whole season. This was one of his down games. 7 tackles. He allowed Davante Adams to get open multiple times throughout the game. Missed a couple of tackles as well. Lets him over the top throws to Jimmy Graham. He was in cover 2 sitting in the flat, but he wasn't respecting the crosser at 10 yards, and Jimmy Graham caught 2 passes that way. I don't know if that's necessarily his responsibility. Yes, he's in the flat, but you got to also look behind you and see what's going on if someone's bringing a crossing route. I don't know if there was a miscommunication from the linebackers. I don't know if the flat was moving up on him and he just wanted to creep in, but it is what it is. He just didn't have a good game. Not saying he's necessarily the reason the Seahawks lost, but he definitely let up a good amount of big plays. Number 3, like I said, I'm going to cheat for this one. How about the Baltimore offensive line? The Ravens offensive line did not play well. They allowed 4 sacks, which doesn't seem like a lot, but Lamar Jackson hasn't been getting sacked a lot this year. And all the sacks were a result of the offensive line not blocking, not him scrambling and getting hit. They also allowed multiple pressures. That's the most amount of times Lamar Jackson has ever been pressured. Jackson threw the ball away 10 times due to pressure, and running backs had nowhere to run. This is an offensive line that's been dominant all year, going against the front 7 that hasn't been that great and has been dealing with injuries, and they just got stifled all day. Number 2, a guy who's been playing very well in his 3rd season, Justin Reed. 3 tackles. He had a pass deflection. He allowed multiple catches playing in the box and over the top. He just looked sloppy all day. And like I said earlier, he got stopped on that 4th down punt. To go into that 4th down punt into detail, I know how we were taught. Let's say we're 3rd and 9 and we get a 6-yard gain to make it 4th and 3. We're alerting to a fake punt call, because if we just gain 6 yards on an offensive play, we can get 3 on a special teams. Texans were 3rd and 2. Had a screenplay that got tackled for a loss of 2 to make it 4th and 4, and they tried to run it. Did not work in their favor. But Justin Reed, playing in the box, playing over the top, just did not have a good game all around on the defensive side of the ball. But my number 1 leaker, this guy's been great all year. He's had a couple of leaker weeks, had a lot of peaker weeks, but this week, Dalvin Cook, 9 for 18, 6 for 8, no touchdowns, no first downs, just bad game all around for him, had nowhere to go. Even if he had an open lane, he chose the wrong one and tried to bounce the play outside because that's what he does best is bouncing plays and cutting the edge. But they were ready for that. Just the flow from the outside backers in Greenlaw and Quan were absolutely spectacular. Nick Bosa plugging the inside. Same thing with D Ford, making sure it boxes back to the inside. Good job by them. Key players this week. I'll just go over a couple of guys. Tevin Coleman is one of them. He had an awesome game. He had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards on the ground. Didn't have anything through the air, but he's been a guy since coming back from injury, has really transformed this 49ers offense. They've been much more efficient. Matt Breida, who's a very good running back, definitely not seeing as many touches because of how Tevin Coleman has played. This is a guy who can run through you and run by you. He's got that speed. He's got that power. He's not afraid to run. He's definitely a guy that could end up being the number 1 bell cow for the 49ers going forward into next season. They've kind of done a running back by committee with all these injuries that have been happening, but with how Tevin Coleman's been playing, I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes the number 1 bell cow. If Matt Breida gets shipped somewhere else and they keep Raheem Mostert as a second back, and then keep Jerick McKinnon on just to see what he does. He's been injured the past 2 seasons, hasn't really done much for the 49ers. Second guy I want to talk about, Mark Andrews. This is a tight end who he's in the Pro Bowl. He's one of the best tight ends this year. Really a rising star out of Oklahoma, but he had a couple of drops in this game. One ended up being an interception. Missed a good amount of blocking assignments. He didn't play that hot, but that's very uncharacteristic of him. This is a guy who's normally a lights-out tight end, is definitely going to be one of the best tight ends in the league for years to come. He's definitely top 5 right now, in my opinion, but he's just got to get better in those crucial situations. His second playoff game didn't do much. He did a lot against the Chargers last year in the playoff game, but definitely not a lot this year against the Titans. Third guy I want to talk about, probably the best tight end in the NFL, if not for George Kittle. Travis Kelce, just absolutely utility for the Chiefs. He's done a great job kind of playing like a receiver. He can split out wide. He can be in the slot, but he can also put his hand in the dirt and maul guys. He can get up the second level, block linebackers, but then also cut at the second level, go outside on a route. He's played absolutely great throughout his whole career. This year definitely was a step back, but now he's re-elevated his play coming into the postseason. Fourth guy I want to talk about, he doesn't get a lot of love, kind of unknown, but he did have 12.5 sacks this year. He has been applying pressure. He did get snubbed from the Pro Bowl. He made sure everyone knew that on his undershirt. How about Zadarius Smith? He's been an absolute transformer for that Packers defense. He's done a great job. The Smith brothers, Preston Smith on the other side, they've completely revitalized that pass rushing attack for the Packers. Good job by him. Coming up with a couple of minutes left in the show, let's preview the games. How about the Chiefs and Packers? Chiefs, when they played the Titans, that was their last loss of the year. Now they're on an 8-game win streak. Packers, their last loss in the season was against the 49ers. They're now on a 6-game win streak. Chiefs play the Titans. Packers play the 49ers. I think this is going to be 2 great games all around. They're going to be close. We'll talk about that a little later. But 4 great teams going to battle this week, today, really, in the next couple of hours. Let's see how they do. Couple of weird stats I want to bring up. Let's talk about 2 quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, he had his first NFL start at 24 years old. He spent 3 years as the backup as one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Brett Favre. He won the Super Bowl in his 6th season as well. Jimmy Garoppolo, he had his first start when he was 24. He spent 3 years as the backup to one of the best quarterbacks of all time, Tom Brady. And now he's in his 6th season. Let's just rewrite history right here. Let's give the 49ers the win right away. Let's see if he can run away and go win a Super Bowl. We'll see how that works out. Frank Clark says Derrick Henry doesn't run hard. He said that in a tweet or in an interview this week. In my opinion, the Titans should run right at Frank Clark right away. They should see what happens, run right all over him. Tyrann Mathieu said, hey, we got to figure out how to stop the run. Normally, when you stop the run, you put 8 men in the box. What that means is you usually have 4 linemen, 3 linebackers, or 3 linemen and 4 linebackers, maybe even 4 linemen and 2 linebackers, and then you roll 1 or both safeties down. In a 4-3 or 3-4, you roll 1 safety down, normally to cover 3 or cover 1 look. Might be a disguise for cover 2 or could be some sort of blitz. That's an 8-man box. Derrick Henry stats against 8-man boxes. As soon as I set up the camera again, we'll get into this stat because it's pretty cool. Derrick Henry against 8-man boxes, 135 yards, 135 carries, most in the NFL. 729 yards, most in the NFL, and 13 touchdowns, most in the NFL this season. Absolute stud against 8-man boxes. I can see Frank Clark stopping him. They're the same size. Tyrann Mathieu, as much as I love his playing ability and love his tenacity, he's 5'9", 180 pounds. Derrick Henry is 6'3", 250, and they are both just as fast as each other. I don't think he's going to be able to stop him. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to stop Derrick Henry and all the offensive weapons that the Titans have. To get more into this game, Mahomes, according to PFF, was the best QB in 2018. Ryan Tannehill was the best QB in 2019, and that's including weeks 1 through 17. So quarterbacks that played weeks 1 through 17, Tannehill from 7 to 17 was even better than those quarterbacks. So this is going to be a great battle between two of the best quarterbacks in the league as of this season. We'll see how that plays out. Going to some team stats, Kansas City has the 6th best offense in the league and the 17th best defense, playing the Titans with the 12th best offense and the 21st best defense. Now, the 12th is from weeks 1 through 17. Tannehill didn't play the first 6 weeks, so that is a little skewed. They might be top 10. I didn't double check that, but the offense has played a lot better since he's taken the helm. So these are going to be two really good offenses against two average defenses. Now, San Francisco and Green Bay. This is going to be awesome to see. San Francisco, 4th best offense in the league, 2nd best defense. Green Bay, 18th in both offense and defense. Last time these two teams played, 49ers crushed them 38-7 or 37-8. It was a blowout for the 49ers. I think the 49ers still going to win here, but let's pick the games, predict the scores, let you know how the game goes. Chiefs are going to get hot early. They're going to keep that momentum that they had last week. They scored 2 touchdowns early. Titans are kind of scrambling to try to figure out what to do. Mike Vrabel, being a smart coach, says, hey, we don't need a pass right now. It's the second quarter. We're only down by 2. Let's run, get the ball back at half, and see what happens. Derrick Henry goes and scores a touchdown, gives them momentum for the half. But before that happens, Mahomes gets sacked by Jeffrey Simmons. He fumbles, and they scoop and score, make it 14-14 going into the half. Titans start to run up the scoreboard. Chiefs got to play catch-up. Ends up being 37-23. Derrick Henry has a monster game, runs over Tyrann Mathieu a few times, stiff arms Frank Clark into the ground, and gives the Titans the win. They punch their ticket to Miami in 2 weeks from now. The night game, 6:30 tonight. We got 49ers at the Packers coming to the 49ers. This is going to be a close game. It's going to be a back-and-forth battle. One of the best QBs in the league against one of the rising stars in the league in Jimmy G. Two completely different offenses. One that'll hit you in a West Coast style and one that can hit you in that traditional passing and running way. Aaron Jones is going to have a couple of big plays. Jimmy G is going to pitch it to Tevin Coleman, who's going to take it for a couple of big plays. Going to be back and forth. 49ers are going to score with 2 minutes to go to make it 28-24. Aaron Rodgers is going to leave a charge down the field. He's going to hit Jimmy G first on the post. Then he's going to hit Marquez Valdes-Scantling on a crossing route. He'll hit Aaron Jones on a screen. They'll get to the 50-yard line. There's going to be 3 seconds left. He's going to drop back. He's going to step back. He's going to load up that arm. He's going to chuck it deep to Davante Adams. He's going to catch it in the air, but guess who comes in and punches it out of the back? None other than Fred Warner. He's going to take his hand, punch it right through his hands, knock the ball loose, give the 49ers the win on the last play of the game, 28-24, San Francisco heading to Miami, and that's going to be Washed Up Wednesdays for this week, everybody. Stay tuned for some great games this week. 3 o'clock, Chiefs play the Titans. 6:30, 49ers play the Packers. This has been one of the best playoffs ever. Let's keep at this pace. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Lauby. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you back on Wednesday right here at the show.